And we're recording. So happy Thursday. This is Joey, and he's gonna help us talk about mindset. Go right ahead. Not a good introduction.
No, totally fine. I was invited here today to talk to you all a bit about mindset and really how much of a role this plays in our life and in business. And I really think it's something that, sometimes it's really easy to get beat down by something that either happens or doesn't go our way. And then we kind of let it run us through the day. When there's a quote out there that says if you had $86,400 and you lost $1, you don't just think you're suddenly broke. You lost $1. And some of us think that if we have 1 second go wrong within our day, we carry that throughout our day and we let it just linger on with us. And I know it's easier said than done, but having a progressive mindset and really reframing things into what is this teaching me instead of why is this happening to me? Because I used to do that when I first started my business years ago, and I'm not perfect. I still get inside my head at times, but now I'm equipped with the skills through doing things like NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It's a framework that I've done within my program where it allows us to look at things for face value of what they are. So commonly our mind will take a small issue and we'll blow it up into this huge thing. And then suddenly it's so overwhelming that it runs our day. Sometimes we'll let's relate this to dieting. I used to diet for bodybuilding competitions many, many years ago, and would yo-yo diet. And if I had something in the middle of the day that was off my plan, I would chalk that whole day up as an L, and I would just eat horribly throughout the day. I would use that one little instance as a reason that, okay, now that I've already cheated here, I'm going to cheat for the rest of the day and I'll just start over tomorrow. That's just a very limiting belief mindset. When we have that limiting belief of, oh, I already lost today. No, you lost one battle. You did not lose the entire war. And I think it's so commonly to let one instance really define us. And then we relate to that trauma so much that that becomes our identity. Your trauma is not your identity. It's something that happened. It's not who you are at the end of the day. And when it comes to dieting, it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be a walk in the park. You're not always going to want to eat those things. But the byproduct of following the plan and doing the workouts is going to be this summit. And the summit is where we want to be physically, aesthetically, and mentally. And when it comes to working on your mindset, there's things that I do in the morning before I even check my email or before I check social media. And I'll try and do my first 3 things in the morning are selfish for me. So the first thing I do is I get up, I make my bed. That's my first win of the day. You've already started your day off by winning the day. And so if you set yourself up to win in the day for the first 5 minutes, you're going to win the entire day. And after that, I'll go and either shower off or I'll head directly to the gym. Most of the time I'll shower before the gym because that's just how I am. I'm that type of person. Once I get to the gym, that is my time. That is a time that I can choose to win the day by actually being there. You showed up to the gym, and most of the time, that's the most challenging part, is getting your feet through those 2 doors at the front of the gym. Because once you're there, you're doing better than when you were sitting at home on the couch. And I used to work in a corporate gym, and I used to tell people the hardest part is getting here. Because once you're actually here, you're better off than you were sitting there thinking about all the things that you want to eat. And it's a way to pattern interrupt. And when it comes to pattern interrupting, if you're noticing that, okay, late at night, I was just talking about this. I did a podcast right before I was on here with my good buddy, Eric. And we were talking about how, for me personally, my downside is late at night. Late at night is when I have those cravings. So I implement a pattern or a habit that is late in the evening for me that I do. Something that I put in my schedule that I'm going to do later on in the evening. Reading, whether it's some type of writing, something that is going to keep me away from thinking about the cravings, from thinking about the anxiety I had from my day. Because if you can address the problem part of your day, which for me is late at night and it's sweets, find a solution to that instead of the woe is me, like, oh, late at night is my problem. This is just me. No, you're identifying with that trauma so much, it's becoming an identity. It is not. It's just a simple fact of the matter. And when it comes to putting that habit in place, do something you enjoy. Like, if it's video games, I don't deter video games away. If it's reading, if it's writing, if it's FaceTiming a friend, like, have an accountability. Got, your main coach right here, like, she's got kids, so don't FaceTime her late at night. But find someone that's a good person as an accountability partner. For me, when it comes to dieting or when my mindset is lacking, I have someone that I'll call and I'll say, hey, my mindset's just not in a good place. And then they'll ask me, well, what is the problem? And if I just think there's not an actual problem, then I'll just tell them I'm just feeling off. And they'll say, okay, well, go do something that actually makes you happy. For me, it's walking on the beach. I do some type of grounding, something to get me away from the regular environment that I'm in. Because if you're just sitting in the environment sulking, it's not going to get better until you choose to make it better. It's not just going to miraculously, and it's gone. Like, we're humans, we're auditory, we're visual, we're physical. We need to get out and do something, pattern interrupt, change the script that you're sitting in and rewrite the story. Like, you do not need to sit there and sulk in the fact that, oh, my mind just is lacking today. We all have off days, and it's okay to have an off day, but understand that that doesn't define you for the week. So if you, like we were saying earlier, I think a couple other people chimed in, so I'll touch base on it again. When it comes to dieting, if you have one bad meal during the day, or if you have one slip up during the day, don't make that a reason to cheat the entire day, because I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. And it's really easy to say, oh, I gave in. I had an Oreo from the cupboard. Now I'm going to go get the Mexican burrito. I'm going to go get froyo, and I'm going to go get all these things because I already did this bad thing and I lost the entire day. Like, that's called, I refer to it as imposter syndrome. We tell ourselves, oh, we've already lost and I'm not worthy of this fitness goal that I've set for myself. You are worthy. If there's other people out there that have gone through this weight loss and have gone through this physical and mental change, newsflash, we are all human at the end of the day. I'm just like you. You're just like me. Some of us are born with better metabolism. Some of us are born with, better knees. It doesn't mean that it's still not possible for you. I mean, there's an example that I have. I had this client when I was a trainer in the fitness industry before I stepped away and went more towards business coaching and things like that. She was hospitalized for 43 years of her life. She had very, very rough schizophrenia. And so when I would work with her, I had no idea what version of this woman was going to show up. She had very poor eating habits to the point where she had been an overweight a majority of her life. She very recently realized that this was all a mindset type of thing. And she would show up every single day, and we had to make these things into a game to where she wasn't sure what version of herself was going to show up. And the other day I saw it on Facebook, she lost 187 pounds. If she can do that when she doesn't have the awareness to understand what's happening within her body and needs actual medication just to get through the day, anyone can do it. I have friends that have both legs amputated, yet they are still showing up in the gym, still following a diet. They have these disadvantages that have made it more difficult for them, but they don't use that as a reason. They're turning that pain into power and that passion into purpose. If there's someone out there that has that dream body, that went through this transformation, that has this mindset that you want, it should let you know that it's in fact possible, because we're all human beings. We're not human doings. These are just things that we're doing, and we're just being. At the end of the day, we're trying to be healthy. We're trying to be held accountable by going to the gym. And if you realize where the actual root cause of where your faltering is, whether it's in your diet or in your workouts, get an accountability partner. Understand the pattern that you go into and find a solution. Like, it's really easy to get stuck in the woe is me, like, oh, this is just me. No, it's not. It's easier to say that than it is to actually address the problem. And I understand that wholeheartedly. I used to be 237 pounds. I was incredibly overweight my entire high school career, and even after that into college. And people used to say, oh, it's because you're young and you were able to get in shape. I know 57-year-old men that are in better shape than I am right now that weren't in great shape 10 years ago. Their testosterone levels are low, their cortisol levels are low, and their work-life balance is off the charts. And they were still able to do it. You have to find the time, and your drive for success, regardless of the goal, needs to be greater than your fear of failing. Failing is going to happen. Don't let that define you. Let that be a reason to push harder. Let it be a reason to take it more serious. Don't just turn to X, Y, Z as reasonings. Be more solution-based and less blaming it on something. Take ownership over it. Because I used to not take ownership over anything that I would do when it came to fitness. And I would constantly sit there and wonder, why am I not seeing the results that I want to see? Until finally one day, I was like, well, it's because late at night I'm dipping into the ice cream that's in the fridge. And if you see that the ice cream is the issue, or X is the issue, don't buy it. Like, limit that and then create a pattern around not doing these things that you see are negative side effects or that are throwing you off that fitness level. Address it that way and then create a new pattern around it. You guys agree? I think everyone's muted. So this is just me like talking right now.
Well, you guys can unmute yourselves if you have any questions or comments. Like, feel free. I know Jennifer has to go to work soon, but I'm just going to put it out there. Jennifer has 6 kids, and she's been showing up for herself after Hurricane Irma. Like they still haven't fully recovered, and she's about to go to work, and she's like probably sitting in front of her job right now listening to us. So you can do it, like he says. Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, my mother has a thyroid problem, and my mother was still able to lose 82 pounds, and she had 4 kids that she was also dealing with, and I was one of them, and I was not an easy kid. I was probably the most difficult kid to ever walk the earth, and my mom will agree with that. Just because I wanted to pull things off the shelves. I wanted to see my mom react. And it was difficult. And so I would stress my mom out. And when your stress levels are high, your cortisol levels raise. And it's even harder to lose weight when the stress levels are high, because that's how cortisol works. Your reasoning and your why needs to be greater than the fear of failing. And it's really easy to chalk up, I have kids. I don't have time. A 1-hour workout is like less than 4% of your day in a 24-hour day. There's like 368 hours in the week, somewhere around there. I'm not math based.
4%. It's 4%. Because we do 30 minutes and people still say they don't have time, or 20 minutes. I'm like, yeah, we could do it.
Yeah, and I mean, find your why. Like, what is your why? For me, when I was younger, I couldn't walk for a year and a half. And I tore my Achilles 3 times. And when I couldn't walk, I started to get very out of shape and very overweight. I started to go into a very sad and almost borderline depressive state. And I used those as reasons that I couldn't lose weight and get in shape. Until finally, I go into the gym one day and I see a gentleman in a wheelchair in the gym that is in better shape than I am. And it was like I got smacked in the face, and I got the biggest sign that I could see that this person has a disadvantage and they're there also. And then when I actually started to get in shape, I started to meet more people. And when I started to take myself into the fitness industry and actually coach other people, I started to realize that we all have, I almost used a cuss word. We all have things going on in our lives and we all have baggage, but we all also have 24 hours and we're all also human, and we all also have this same opportunity at the end of the day. And it's up to you to actually take advantage of that opportunity and turn that pain into power, that passion into purpose, and have clarity in what do you actually want to do. If you're telling yourself, oh, I need to lose X amount by this day, go a little bit smaller. Focus on being 1% better every single day. And if you focus on 1% instead of, oh, I need to be 90% better, focus on 1%. Maybe instead of putting your focus on, I need to get up, I need to do this, and this, maybe focus on just getting up, getting into the shower, brushing your teeth, putting your workout shoes on. Everything else after that is a win. Like, make more micro goals so that way you reframe that into, all right, cool, I accomplished this. Now I'm going to see how much more I can accomplish, and then compound based off that. Like, I used to do the same thing. I used to tell myself like, oh, I need to get to the gym, or I need to do this at home workout, and I need to do it for like X amount of time. And I was like setting the bar too high. And it's good to have high goals, but make sure they're realistic and in alignment with what your lifestyle will allow you to do. Because I think so commonly we want to go 0 to 100 when sometimes that's a little too much too soon. Sometimes maybe we should think a little bit more micro. And then once we've got the habit of like, all right, I'm doing this, now I'm going to push a little bit further. Because if you focus on 1%, 1% times 100, eventually you're going to be 100% better. And then you're going to feel a sense of accomplishment. You're going to feel the dopamine spike. You're going to feel good. Then your serotonin is going to raise. And then you're not going to have as much cortisol, and you're going to start seeing more results with it. You need to make this fun. Don't make it daunting. Because I used to look at fitness as this thing that, oh, I have to do it. No, you get to do it. I couldn't walk for 2 years. Like, I wanted anything. I would do anything to be able to walk then. I can never get that time back. There's people out there that regardless on how hard they try, their thyroid wouldn't allow them to do it. And I saw this in my mom. And like, I wanted anything to be able to help her, but she had to want to help herself first and understand that this is going to be more difficult, but it is not impossible. Like, it's possible. It's just a bit more difficult, and you really have to be more meticulous with this. And I can't give specifics on that because every disposition is different, but understanding that you're not alone. You guys have this community that's around it, and lean on your community, because just like there's strength in numbers, there's power in community. And if you can lean on those people and have someone that you reach out to, like, hey, I'm having a rough day. You're human. You're allowed to have challenging days. You're allowed to have days where you feel off, but don't let that one day define you completely, because you're all just as deserving to have these things happen for you, because we're all humans. We're all just as deserving and just as undeserving. It ebb and flows. You know, we have to know sadness to know happiness. We have to know good to know bad. We have to deserve to be undeserving. It all is relative at the end of the day. And it's possible, regardless on how big or small your goal is, it is possible. There's people out there that have gone through insane transformations. There's people out there that are still going through it. Your journey is your journey. Don't get so caught up comparing your journey to someone else's that you lose sight of where you've actually gone and where you started. Like, especially when it comes to social media. Like, we're so busy comparing ourselves to what other people have done, and we're so busy using this as a medium that we forget that our journey is ours and we get to own that. It's kind of like the game of bowling. When it comes to bowling, this is a single person sport. But when we're bowling, we're paying attention to everyone else's score instead of paying attention to ours. We're more concerned on what they're doing instead of what we're actually doing. And this could be an analogy for fitness. This could be an analogy for life. Focus on what you are doing and get laser focused on what you actually want to do. Hold yourself accountable at the end of the day. Set realistic and attainable goals and understand that it's okay to have off days. It's okay to slip up every now and then, but don't let it define you, because you're human at the end of the day. And if you see that, okay, this time of the day is the most difficult time for me when it comes to eating a certain way, find the pattern there, address it, and then implement a habit that is the complete opposite, a habit that's positive. For me, it's late at night eating. So instead of me giving in late at night to eating a certain way, I will tell myself I'm going to read 15 pages between this time of the night and this time of the night in a book. Or I'm going to listen to this podcast, or I'm going to play this video game, or I'm going to call this friend and have some type of conversation. Because the second you put your attention somewhere else, intention goes where attention flows. And then suddenly you're not even thinking about the food that you were thinking about before. Because, food is nourishment. Don't limit yourself to the point to where like you're hating everything, because eventually there's going to be a stable point to where I don't even like to call it dieting. I like to call it consciously eating, because educating yourself on what to eat, how to exercise, these are tools that I think we should have particularly been given when we were in school. And I didn't come from an incredibly healthy family. Like, we were always eating tamales. We were always eating all of these things that are part of the Latin culture. And so I was born with a disposition, and I've seen incredible transformations mentally before I've seen the physical transformation. Because realistically, your mind can push you through anything. Like, our minds are powerful. And there were days, I kid you not, when I started my journey, I couldn't run a mile, and I would go in at the gym. And I know you guys are doing your workouts at home, but just to give you an analogy to where I started, I couldn't run a mile, and I would go in and I would turn the treadmill up and I would hold on. And there were days when I would tear up because my feet hurt so bad. But I told myself, I'm going to do this. And I wore those little Livestrong bracelets, like the yellow Livestrong bracelets. And I would look down at that, and I would see the word Live Strong, and that was my anchor. I would see that, and it would remind me that I can do this, because there's other people out there that have gotten in shape, and they have this body that I want, and this way of living that I wanted. If they can do it, you can do it. If someone else has gone through this transformation, and if they have, or if they do or do not have the same disposition, it's possible. Like, I guarantee you. You just have to actually want to do it. Understand that you're going to have limiting beliefs where you tell yourself, I can't do it. You can do it. Reframe it into, I get to do this, not I have to do this. Not why is this happening to me, but what is this teaching me? There's a gift in every single situation. You just have to be able to see that. Be a little more gentle on yourself sometimes, because I used to do the negative self-talk all the time. I used to look in the mirror and I used to not like who I saw. Self-love is a big thing. It's a big part of it. You have to love yourself regardless, on any phase, because true beauty is within, and this is where the actual change happens. And then the outside is the byproduct of the internal and mental change. I can guarantee you on that.
All right, Joey, I know you're probably not used to everybody being muted.
No, it's totally fine. I mean, I hope everyone got a good...
Does anybody have anything to say or ask Joey while he's on here? You can unmute yourselves.
What were some of the key things that you did say to yourself in those moments? So, like, I have a big problem with everything's over now because I make that little mistake. But what are the things you're telling yourself right in that moment? Not just it's okay. Like, is there any key things that you told yourself for all of those situations?
Like when I would slack off my diet, or when I just wouldn't make it into the gym? Is that what
Yes. Yeah.
Understand that tomorrow's a new day, and what I didn't accomplish this day is still going to be possible tomorrow. And I would take things day by day. And if I didn't make it in that day, or if I had a bad day, it's just a bad day. It's not a bad week. It's not a bad life. I just had a day. Oh, one sec. I was unmuted.
I muted you for half a second. Sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. I think because I know Trisha, if I know what she's getting at is if you eat the Oreo instead of throwing in the towel for the whole day.
Yeah.
You know, because I think a lot of us can do the whole tomorrow's a new day, but how do we save ourselves that day? And I think it's
don't beat yourself up about it. Understand that you wanted that right then. You fueled a craving. Relish in that. Okay, I just fueled my craving. Feel good. I'm going to get back on track now because I fueled my craving and I don't need to continue on after that. I mean, from a scientific standpoint, when we do have sugar and ingest that, our body digests that and deanimates it in a certain way. So you will want more. But that's just science coming into play. Our mind can definitely get past that. Understand that just because it happens does not mean you have to continue down that road. And understanding that, yeah, it happened. You're human. It doesn't mean I need to kill the rest of the roll. Limit yourself. If you see that your pattern is, I'm going to have like the 5 Oreos. Maybe don't stop cold turkey, and I don't want to enable you in any way, but understand that if your thing is like, I'm going to have 5 Oreos at this time, maybe do 3. And then if you see that you're going to do it the next day, do 2, do 1, and then finally do half. 0 to 100 is a difficult path. It's kind of like it reminds me of this woman that used to come to the gym, and she used to come in, she would check in, she would go, she would do a 15-minute workout, and she'd leave. And I would always ask her that. I would ask her, why would she do that? She was like, well, if I focus on coming for an hour, I won't commit. So I just come in, I do 15 minutes. She did that for 3 months. Didn't see a ton of results. But then 3 months after that, she was coming in for 45 minutes. She was coming in more consistent. And then after that, this lady would come in for like 2.5 hours at a time. She took this small micro habit and compounded off that habit until finally it was this big change. And it's the same thing as the 5 Oreos. If you limit yourself from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 to half to a quarter to nothing, finally that 0 to 100 became 1% each day that you were getting better. Reframing it into this is something that happens and it's something that you can get past. It's realistic. Any other questions?
Is that good? Was that right? I don't know.
To the question along the same lines.
It makes sense. It's hard to adjust that mindset from like, it's okay. You give forgiveness to everybody else for everything they do wrong. But then like when it comes to ourselves, I'm like, oh no, there is a standard and you just broke it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough because when it comes to ourselves, like, man, the negative self-talk I used to tell myself, like I was really mean to myself until finally you have to love yourself the way you love others. Love yourself more than that. And I know it sounds easy to say, but it's challenging. And change starts when you decide that it wants to start, and maybe setting little goals for yourself or little things, or maybe set like a word of affirmation. Like if there's something that you turn to each night or at some certain time that is some type of craving, maybe set a post-it on it that has a word of affirmation, like you are more than enough, you're more than worthy. I'm a big believer in having affirmations, and like I have like so many things around my house that have like positive words of affirmation, and I would show you, but I'm not in my house right now. Like I have things that say like love is the answer, you are enough, things like that, and it just reminds me like that's the truth. Like you are enough and you are deserving, and it is possible. Are there any?
Layla or Trisha, do you guys have anything to say for Joey?
No, I like that though. Loving yourself like you would love others. Because that's what the whole mindset is that we have to give ourselves that grace, not giving up on our goals, but just give ourselves that grace that, there's going to be ups and downs.
And you have so much love for others. Like, you should, love yourself the way you love others.
It's not even in a vain way. Like, the way you love yourself is the standard that you set for others to love you. And it's like, it's empowering. And yeah, that's what it comes down to. Self-love is a big part of it. And reframing the self-doubt that we have into self-love is an empowering moment. Because I remember when I made that shift, and I have my off days, and when I have my off days, I have like one of my best friends, Eric, that I call, and having that person or those people, that community around you that understands, we all have off days, and being honest with yourself, like, you gotta take ownership over it.
Trisha or Layla, do you guys have anything?
And I just feel like I'm hearing a male version of myself talking. It's hilarious. My cousin the other day told me I needed to be a life coach, but like, you sound like me. You sound like what I was just telling my cousin all day yesterday for like 2 hours.
Oh, that's incredible. It sounds like you give great advice to your cousin.
I try.
Yeah. What's the type of advice you give yourself?
The same.
Good.
I try to practice what I preach.
A long way. And Trisha you're amazing. She's amazing. She's a mom. She's got a lot of health issues. She shows up every day for others and herself. Yeah.
I love that. How you show up consistently, it becomes your pattern, and then it becomes your personality. And I wasn't always this person. I didn't always have this frame of mind. It took a lot of work, but first it took actually addressing what I needed to work on and starting there.
And taking it one step at a time. Like, you can't do it all at once. You can't fix every issue at once, because you will deter yourself so quickly if you try to do that. I just focus on one little thing at a time. And when I start seeing that I'm improving on that, then I'll try to add something new in that I know I need to work on, and slowly just increase it. That way it's not overwhelming at once.
Yeah, you can't go 0 to 100, because then you're like, this is too much to shift all at once. Like, focus on doing the little things and compound. Once you got that down, add another block, then add another block. And then suddenly you've got this tower, and the view from the top is beautiful. And you get to see the journey where it started. And then you get to see where you are now and the work that still needs to be done, because we're forever students, and we're always going to continue to learn and to grow, and learning to grow through what you go through, and not getting bogged down in limiting beliefs and the negatives and the things that happen to us. Because, life can get tough and overbearing, and that's just life. But don't let it define you.
Not just that, but life is too short to stress on those little things. Like, recently losing someone, you lose people, and it just reminds you of how short life is. And like, you start to regret the small moments that you might have let pass up. But then you realize regretting them isn't changing the fact that you've passed them up. So it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And remember that every day is a new day, and what happened yesterday doesn't have to happen today.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Of course.
All right. So unless Layla has something to say.
Everything that we've been talking about just now reminds me of myself. So I'm kind of giving all this advice from all of you. Pretty much is what I'm going to. So I needed to just talk. Thank you.
Heck yeah. I'm glad things landed for you, and hopefully you got some good takeaways. And change starts with you. And I'm excited to see these transitions that you all go through, and maybe in the future I'll come back and see these versions of you guys that you've grown into, and just understand that we all start somewhere.
I shared your Instagram with them, so hopefully you guys
Oh,
will
yeah.
follow Joey, and he's so motivating his stories. He's really good. So I guess if that's it, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you. You've already given us more than a half an hour.
Yeah, no, the pleasure was all mine. I was thrilled to come and share a bit on the mindset piece. And if you guys ever want to chat, feel free to reach out.
All right. Bye, Joey. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.